The 1990s are not counted among the most remembered decades by horror fans. If the preceding decades of the 70s and 80s saw a spring of slasher films defining the genre, the succeeding decade of the 2010s saw the introduction of what one can define as elevated horror, which was marked by experimentations with the genre. However, the 1990s was the time when new technological developments came to the forefront, which saw the usage of new graphic and camera techniques to heighten reality and, therefore, the scares. The decade also saw the creation of new franchises in the horror world. Even though many of the horrors released during the decade were indeed scary, they gradually faded into forgetfulness due to the genre-defining status of the preceding and succeeding decade in the genre. Today, we will be exploring 9 such horror series from the decade that were forgotten but are really nightmarish. So, yes, let's dive into the world of horror. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The Outer Limits. The Outer Limits is a TV series that spanned 7 seasons, starting from 1995 till 2002. The series was planned as a revival of the classic series by the same name, which aired between 1963 and 1965. Each season of the series was marked by an anthology format, which combined in the finale of the season. Attempts to bring out the series started in the 1980s, inspired by the success of sci-fis such as Star Trek. Initially, MGM paired up with Trilogy Productions before Sci-Fi overtook the production of the 7th and final season. Therefore, a marked difference in the explicit content can be observed between the first 6 and the last seasons. The Outer Limits differed from the original series in terms of deviating from the villain of the week concept. This is a concept of a villain or an antagonist who makes entry only in one episode of a multi-episode series, mostly in the last episode. The new Outer Limits instead focused on specific scientific concepts, combined with a moralistic narration at the beginning and end of each episode. The concepts ranged from artificial intelligence to nuclear fallout to aliens, everything that can be imagined in a sci-fi. Most of the episodes were spooky and intriguing at the same time, starting from the initial background score. With all the positives counted, the series still fails to maintain consistency, with a disparity between the quality of different episodes. If most of them featured extremely well-crafted episodes, some were failures, and this inconsistency often led us to doubting whether they were all part of the same franchise. Freaky Stories. Freaky Stories is a Canadian animation anthology series that aired between 1997 and 1999, spanning 3 seasons and 35 episodes. The development of the series began in 1991 when creator Steve Schneer's idea was accepted by YTV in 1991. The series was first featured on TV during YTV's Halloween special schedule in 1995. The first episode was made using traditional animation techniques, but most others were finished using digibeta. The series is known for its characteristic opening and ending lines pitched in by the narrators, Larry DeBug, a cockroach, and his sidekick, Maurice the Maggot. The episode started and finished with the phrase, "This is a true story, and it happened to a friend of mine." In the words of Larry, "Just because they never happened doesn't mean they ain't true." These sentences established the background setting for the upcoming storyline. The episodes featured stories inspired by urban legends. Even though the series was intended for kids, they featured mature elements, including gross twists and black comedy. It should be kept in mind that the series came out at a time when family and kid shows were not as censored as they are today. Another notable feature of the series was that it didn't feature a definite style or even a common background score. Even the animation styles varied across each episode. This was done so as to keep each episode original and, therefore, to not go beyond the attention span of the audience. Freaky Stories was quite successful, with the show all in all being an entertaining watch. Millennium. X-Files is a famous series that doesn't need much introduction. Chris Carter is remembered today for X-Files. But when X-Files was developing its cult following, Carter created another series that was much applauded during its release, Millennium, which first aired on October 25, 1996 on Fox, was a critically acclaimed horror series that, towards its end, lost popularity and gradually fell into oblivion. Mark Snow, who is also remembered for his contribution in X-Files, provided the background score for Millennium. It was ranked 87 in Rotten Tomatoes' 100 Best Sci-Fi TV Shows of All Time in 2018. Millennium centers around Frank Black, a former FBI agent who has the talent to see the world through the perspective of murderers and serial killers. His role as a freelance forensic profiler brings into play different characters. Black lives with his wife Catherine and daughter Jordan. Although Carter denies being a psychic, Jordan's inheritance of her father's abilities indicates otherwise. The central point of action and mystery, which contributes to the later horrors in the series, is the Millennium Group, for whom Black worked in the past. As the series gradually develops, the mystery revolving around the Millennium Group unfolds, causing supernatural events to make an entry. Even though the series initially had an impressive run, starting with its pilot episode, which was watched by an estimated 17.72 million viewers, it was eventually stopped by the third season due to a declining viewership. Later, Black and Jordan make an appearance in X-Files Season 7 episode titled Millennium. Millennium is a series that explores dark conspiracy theories with offbeat humor, which makes it both compelling and a nightmarish watch. Erie, Indiana. Erie, Indiana is a horror science fiction series that ran on NBC from 1991 to 1993. Jose Rivera and Carl Schaefer paired up to create the series, spanning 19 episodes across a single season. The series aired twice after finishing its original run in 1993, first from 1993 to 1996, then in 1997. The first two times it aired on the Disney Channel, while the third time it was shown on the Fox Kids network. The series developed a cult following of its own, which led to the release of its spin-off, Erie, Indiana, The Other Dimension. Marshall Teller is the protagonist of the series. As the title suggests, the series deals with the strange happenings in the namesake town of Erie, Indiana, with a population of 16,661. The happenings start coming to the fore after Teller moves to the town with his family. He befriends Simon Holmes, one of the few people who are actually normal in the town. The strange incidents include a group of intelligent dogs planning to take over the world, and a tornado hunter who reminds us of Captain Ahab's character from Moby Dick. Numerous urban legends also make entries, elevating the spookiness of the series. The series can be branded as a nightmarish comedy, and its absurdity was quite new to the screens. Even though primarily meant for kids, the series was a hit amongst adults too, which speaks volumes about why it should be watched. Poltergeist: The Legacy. Poltergeist: The Legacy is a horror television series that first aired on Showtime before being syndicated. The series ran from April 21st, 1996 to November 12th, 1999. It took almost 7 years before the series was released on DVD on February 7th, 2006. The long delay is a partial reason why the series was forgotten. The storyline features a secretive society, the Legacy, which was founded in 6th century England and is dedicated to protecting humanity from supernatural forces of evil. They do so by collecting dangerous and ancient knowledge and artifacts and by solving paranormal problems. Even though, according to the legend, over time, the group grew and has branches across the world, the series focuses on the San Francisco branch called the San Francisco House. According to the structure of the group, each branch is led by one who is known as a precept, with the San Francisco one being led by Precept Dr. Derek Rain. The San Francisco House is based in a castle on Angel Island in San Francisco Bay. Even though the series was forgotten from popular culture, it commands a very active and dedicated, albeit small, online fan group. The series does not feature any horrific incidents and instead relies on the mystery-induced tension to create the scares. By bringing in personal drama to play, the series becomes an entertaining watch indeed. American Gothic. American Gothic, first aired on September 22, 1995, is an American horror series created by Sean Cassidy. The series aired on CBS till July 11, 1996, before it was stopped. The series was nominated for multiple awards, including the Saturn Award. The series is based in a fictional town in South Carolina named Trinity. The series is centered around the lives of Caleb Temple and the town's sheriff, Lucas Buck. Things are not as they seem, and Buck hides his dark persona under the guise of being affable and charismatic. He is a murderous rapist who uses his supernatural powers to fulfill his desires, which include manipulating people. Caleb Temple is the biological son of Sheriff Buck, but carries a dark history around his birth. Buck, in the past, had raped Temple's mother before the eyes of his sister before murdering his sister and manipulating his father to commit suicide. Due to the trauma associated with the brutal rape, Temple's mother, Merlin, commits suicide after his birth. Things start to heat up as the newly arrived Dr. Crower teams up with Temple's cousin, Gail Emery, to investigate the unnatural deaths of Merlin, her husband, and her daughter. The series follows the scuffle between Buck's influence in Temple's life and Emery and Dr. Crower's attempts to bring him out of Buck's influence, being helped by Merlin's ghost. The series is among the many that have come out following the success of X-Files, but has made its own place in the genre. It leaves a haunting presence after the watch. It is a surprise that the series did not extend beyond a single season. Forever Knight. Forever Knight is a Canadian television series that ran on CBS and USA networks from May 5, 1992 to May 17, 1996. The first two seasons premiered on CBS, while the last season was aired on USA Network. Barney Cohen and James D. Perriott were the creators of the series. Nick Knight is the main character in the series. He is a Toronto police officer who works the night shift with his partner, but unknown to most of the other characters, he is actually an 800-year-old vampire who took up the role of police officer as a means to redeem himself for his past actions. In most of the series, the only human being aware of his situation is his friend and medical examiner, Natalie Lambert. Nick tries to search for a means to become human again, but things get complicated and tense as other vampires, Lucien Lacroix and Jeanette Ducharme, make entries into the storyline. The series was nominated for multiple awards, including the prestigious Gemini Awards and Golden Reel Award, winning once in 1996. Each episode in the series is an independent unit of its own, even though the series maintains some consistent themes. The episode-centric nature of the series was a characteristic of the pre-2000 TV series, which centered around episodes rather than the whole series. The series, in spite of dealing with supernatural events, is as realistic as possible, with problems like racism, drug abuse, and medical research being explored. The series is classic and thought-provoking, even though for some, the climax can come across as off-track. Nightmare Cafe. Nightmare Cafe is an American television series that aired from January 29th to April 3rd of 1992 on NBC, which was then discontinued due to low audience ratings. The series cannot be fit into a single genre, even though it is primarily a mystical fantasy. It often delves into elements of dark humor, horror, and sometimes cheeky comedy. The series featured 6 episodes. The series opens with the characters Frank Nolan and Faye Peranovic transported to a mysterious all-night cafe after coming close to dying. But later on, they realized that they had actually died but were returned back to life by the cafe so as to correct something they did wrong in their life. After correcting themselves, they stay on as the cafe's new cook and waitress. They aid the owner of the cafe, Blackie, in giving second chances to many. However, the main character in the series is the cafe itself, capable of transporting itself to different locations and creating portals between it and other worlds, including outer space and even heaven. Further, the cafe often makes silent wishes come true, even if it puts the person in trouble. The cafe can be seen as both protagonist and antagonist, owing to its offering of second chances and helping out people, but at the same time often being mischievous. The effects used in the series were outdated even for its time, but the series was quite imaginative imaginative and stylish, which could not be explored further due to it being discontinued in just 6 episodes. Swamp Thing, the character from the Vertigo imprint of DC, was adapted on TV on July 27, 1990, extending to 3 seasons. At one point, it was the highest-rated original series on USA Network. The series, however, followed an uneven pattern as the executive producer, Joseph Stefano, left the series after the first season. The series went through a makeover with the introduction of a new team who made it even more dark. Another feature that started in the second season was the focus on anthological stories, focusing on many characters other than just the protagonist. Nevertheless, the storyline primarily revolved around Dr. Alec Holland's life, who was converted into the Swamp Thing. He became the Swamp Thing after a terrible incident involving catching fire, reacting with strange chemicals, and being dumped into Louisiana swamps by the antagonist Anton Arcane. It is here, in the swamp, that Alec undergoes mutation, becoming a powerful being. The Swamp Thing was more than a good guy fighting evil series, as the episodes were often sprinkled with messages. The yearning to become human leads us into terrains of emotions. Further, the Swamp Thing often cares for and loves all living beings, which has a profound impact on his approach to life. Nonetheless, the series lacked overtly dramatic or sensational episodes, with the unevenness in the making sticking out throughout the seasons. It was successful in making a dedicated cult following of its own, leading to its revival. Marvelous conclusion. The 1990s was a period when experimentations with different tropes of horror and the supernatural were at a peak, primarily due to the popularity of television, which brought spectacle to home. This led to multiple and diverse sets of series making an entry and quick exits, and on rare occasions becoming popular and long series like The X-Files. Many of the series mentioned in the list are associated with at least some of the 80s and 90s kids, but later forgotten due to their short runs and gradual fading into oblivion. The short span of the series sometimes led to the storylines getting less explored and the audience being left wanting more. But what could have been the status of these series if they continued for a bit longer can only be a matter of assumptions. Which series would you like to see a remake of? Tell us in the comments. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe out there. Thanks, everyone.